Let's begin today's Vanguard news, or lack thereof, as the only thing we got is the new Magic World collab for DZTB01. Magic World is your typical buddy fight starter that should have been a projection looking flag to give it more of magic vibes. Ibo Academy Tetsuya Rodake, when rode upon by Danse contest victor Tetsuya Rodake, lets you add up to one order card or a 72 pillar card that isn't a sentinel from the top 5 cards of your deck. I think Bushiroad forgot to add the Regalis Peace clause on this card. I guess even the devs forget that they're generic. Danse contest victor Tetsuya Rodake, when rode upon by a grade 3 Tetsuya card, lets you reveal up to 2 72 pillar cards that isn't a sentinel from the top 7 cards of your deck, then add one of them to your hand, and discarding the rest. Without even reading the rest of the supports, I just know that this deck will have ways to get back order cards in the drop zone or even use them there like Zorga. Wants the whole world to join the craze. Tetsuya Rodake, while on Vanguard, lets you play 2 orders each turn, but you cannot play an order with the same name as the previous order you played. When placed on Vanguard, add up to 1 normal or set order from your drop zone. And while on Vanguard, you can pay 1 counter blast when he attacks to call up to 1 grade 1 or lower 72 pillar card that isn't a sentinel from your drop zone. You can pay 1 counter blast and returning 2 72 pillar cards that isn't a sentinel from the drop zone to the bottom of your deck instead. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher, to call 2 units with this ability instead. Called it. The deck will indeed be able to play 2 orders in 1 turn. And this card feels like Reziel, that got nerfed to the ground because he kept abusing Segon. Noisy Dance Room is a set order card, while in the order zone gives all of your front row 72 pillar units the intercept ability and 5k power if you have a grade 3 or higher Tetsuya Vanguard. And once per turn while in the order zone, you can pay 1 gauge to return a 72 pillar card on rear guard to your hand. Now it makes sense why all of Tetsuya's cards seems to avoid sentinel units. The devs sort of learned their lesson with Reziel and him brimming with mercy. Demon Realm Architect Gammage, and when placed on rear guard lets you pay 1 gauge to add up to 1 set order from your deck. I know people are sick and tired of me bitch about how Bushiroad threw Thegria under the bus, but when I see a card that could have helped make her a better deck in another nation, I just can't help but be annoyed and need to vent out. Let's play Asmodai. When placed on rear guard lets you put up to 1 Asmodai card from your drop zone into your gauge face down. And when this unit intercepts, he gets 5k shields if you have a Tetsuya Vanguard. This is basically an on-demand energy charger. Danse Asmodai can only be called by paying 1 gauge, and when he's placed on rear guard, draw a card. Some will say the gauge cost is similar to his original counterpart. To me it's a balancing restriction as to not be abused with the grade 3 Tetsuya's ability. Demon Lord Asmodai, when placed on rear guard lets you pay 1 counter blast to either retire all of your opponent's rear guard in 1 circle or add up to 1 72 pillar order card from your deck. And while on rear guard, he gets 5k power when he attacks a grade 3 or higher unit and you have a grade 3 or higher Tetsuya Vanguard. He gets 10k power instead if you have second Omni Demon Lord Asmodai on rear guard. Was it really necessary for this card to have a way to bypass anti-retire abilities? There's barely a handful of decks with that ability and most of them aren't even being used much. Second Omni Demon Lord Asmodai can only be called by paying 2 gauges, while on rear guard, you cannot call units with the same name as him. Then he gets 10k power if you have a grade 3 or higher Tetsuya Vanguard. When he leaves the rear guard, you put the top card of your deck into your damage zone. And while on rear guard during your opponent's turn, you can discard 1 card in hand to prevent this unit from leaving the field. Once per turn while on rear guard, you can pay 1 counter blast at the end of the battle he attacked, and you have a grade 3 or higher Vanguard in stand state to stand himself. And while on rear guard, retire the rear guard unit that attacked this unit at the end of that battle. It's been a while since I saw a rear guard unit this overtuned, but then this is a buddy fight card, so I guess they get a pass. A 20k base rear guard unit that basically has soul guard without it being called soul guard and can attack the opponent twice. Guess they had to specifically mention that the Vanguard needs to be in stand, otherwise the deck could do up to 6 attacks. Art of Body Duplication Asmodai, while on rear guard, lets you retire itself to call an Asmodai card with a different name than itself, and with a grade equal or lower than your Vanguard from your drop zone. This is obviously a way to revive your Omni Demon Lord Asmodai bearing that you can pay the 2 gauge. Mind of Hardcore is a normal order card that can only be played if you have 2 or more 72 pillar rear guards to put up to 3 72 pillar cards from your drop zone into your gauge face down. Danse Asmodai will be happy to know that he has an engine. Devil Advantage is a normal order card that can only be played by paying 1 gauge to add exactly 2 72 pillar normal units that isn't a sentinel from your drop zone. Take note that you need to reveal 2 cards, otherwise this does nothing. Solomon's Shield is a blitz order sentinel that can only be played by paying 1 discard to prevent one of your units from being hit. Then add a normal order card from your drop zone to your hand. What is up with buddy fight blitz sentinels virtually having no cost and even letting you toolbox your drop zone? I want a card like that for Keter Sanctuary. Diabolical Hardcore is a normal order card that cannot be played, and you can only use this effect if you have not used another impact order this match, and while in hand at the end of your turn. You can discard this card, then pay 3 gauges and declaring final phase if your opponent has 4 or less damage and you have 3 or more 72 pillar rear guards to deal 1 damage to your opponent. While one of the easiest impact cards to use, this might also be one of the weakest. I'm glad they restrict the use while the opponent has 4 or less damage. Unfortunately, this card is potentially lowering your chances of getting a defensive heal on your opponent's turn. You'd rather use those gauges to keep drawing with Danse Asmodai. Nice One is a normal order card that can only be played by paying 1 gauge to draw 2 cards. Is it weird that I find Electron Ninja Shiden more powerful than this card? Those that actually play Yu-Gi-Oh know that Destiny Draw is better than Pot of Greed. Finally, here are the high rarity shit you can chill on. And that concludes this Vanguard news without the bullshit. Special thanks to my Patreon members for continuing to support my content creation. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments if 2 order cards per turn isn't enough and you need to be able to play 3 for this deck.